All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello to all of Jacob's followers as well. My name is Carissa Deshays. I'm super grateful to be here with Jacob. For anybody that knows Jacob, he is the owner of New Hampshire Custom Tattoos here in Hooksett. We had a chance of connecting a little bit recently, and he seems like an amazing person. I'm so honored to have him. For all of you that may be viewing from his Facebook, my name is Carissa Deshays, and I host the Faith Over Fear podcast. It's available on all social media platforms. It's really just about motivation, becoming your best self, and overcoming obstacles. So Jake, I'm so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know that we've talked, you have your own podcast platform, you're an entrepreneur. I know that you've kind of looked into my podcast a little bit. So obviously, like it's just really about giving people motivation. And I feel like if we are able to help another person, even if it's one person a day, like we're really bringing humanity back together.
For sure.
So that being said, like, what's your story? What's your journey? I know that obviously success is not something that is built overnight. It takes dedication. It takes sacrifice. It takes, all those things that can be really difficult to get through. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Carissa. Well, my big thing is passion. I've been drawing since I was a little boy. My grandmother got me into drawing. I was lucky enough to do a lot of art contests over the years as a child. Got a college scholarship to go to fine art for free. And as a teenager, one of my summer jobs was drawing pictures of people at the beach and then doing airbrushing and painting surfboards, skateboards, snowboards.
Were you the person that they walked up to that they were like, this is like, can you draw this picture of us? And they
Yeah.
were like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
really cool.
Yeah, I did that. And I'd also do little temporary tattoos on other kids. I was just a kid myself at the time, but, it was better than mowing lawns, which really I mowed lawns and helped doing construction, and I absolutely hated that type of work. And I was big into like heavy metal and punk rock music, skateboarding. I suck at those things, but I was able to do the T-shirt design, the album covers, and stuff like that pretty well. At first, I did vandalism type of naughty graffiti, and then that led into doing mural artwork for restaurants and stuff. And then kind of one thing led to another. I broke my leg at a snowboard contest, and my roommate was a professional tattoo artist. He offered me a tattoo apprenticeship by
Oh, wow.
It felt like that was kind of a rip-off and a scam at the time, but it was something I really wanted to pursue. So
was tattooing like something that you felt, because I know that art was always like a huge part of your life. Was tattooing like ever an idea for you to go into, or was it something that was kind of more or less like brought up in a way that you felt you could continue your artistic talent?
Well, when I graduated high school back in 1998, so tattooing back then was kind of a very taboo thing. My parents were not supportive of the idea at all. They wanted me to be a computer engineer or stuff like that. So I actually went to college for business and entrepreneurship, but it was so boring that I was just drawing pictures all the time.
While you were in school for that, yeah.
Honestly, all I really cared about was drawing pictures. And I even had a magazine that I was incorporated with doing the photography and the artwork for and the graphics, kind of like you were talking about with graphic design. But with tattooing, I went into a lot of different tattoo shops thinking it was art, and every tattoo shop I went to didn't want me didn't want to tattoo my design. I'd bring them my drawings, say, "Hey, can you tattoo this on me?" And they said, "No, you have to pick it off the wall. We pick it, we stick it." They had no creativity. So I really kind of lost my interest in being a tattoo artist until I met Everett Adams, a gentleman who taught me how to tattoo. He mentored me in it, and he did it all freehand, kind of like how Demetrio tattooed you, and how I do tattoos now is freehand drawing it on. And that led into taking it pretty serious, and I did a lot of competitions and tattooing.
That's amazing. And then, like you said, it gives you that opportunity to really take your creativity, because I feel like as an artist, I can't draw. I can paint, kind of, but to be able to feel almost like a prisoner within your craft, to not be able to express yourself, because you may have like this vision and this design that somebody else may not have. And you may have this approach of wanting to create it with certain colors and all these things. So it's really cool that you were able to have somebody apprentice you that kind of had that same creative mind, in the sense of like, no, like I freehand, because like you were saying, that wasn't something that a lot of tattoo artists were doing. So these drawings, they were just kind of like, yeah, pick it and stick it. Like whichever one you like on the wall, we can do for you. So do you feel like freehand, like in the tattoo community now, is something that you see more often, or do you feel like that's something that's still like when you meet somebody that's able to do that, that's just kind of like out of this world?
Yeah, the second part. A lot of my clients are a little bit scared, shocked, and impressed that I actually freehand because they've never seen someone else that does it. I guess it's very rare still, especially nowadays with people drawing the tattoos on a tablet. And it really is drawing when you do it on a tablet, but a lot of people think that you're just picking it off of Google and copy and paste type of thing. And so they don't, I think that the average person doesn't quite respect the craft and the amount of years of dedication it takes to learn how to truly draw like a specialist. So yeah, it's I think people are dismissed with it because it's the tattoo industry, as you know, is a little bit oversaturated with too much competition. People buying tattoo kits on Amazon and all that other crap and learning how to tattoo on YouTube without a correct mentor. And they're just not doing it correctly. You know, they're skipping the steps of like before you become a tattoo artist, you should need to become an artist. And that's one of my prerequisites. I say, what art college did you go to? What art job did you have before tattooing? Is if you're going to do tattooing as a career, you should have had a different career in art in general.
Do you think that a lot of people in society just are kind of looking for maybe like instant gratification, or kind of looking at it like one day waking up saying, I want to be a tattoo artist, and not really understanding what that means?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with any other industry too, the TikTok generation is what they call it, a 3 second attention span.
Right.
So nowadays we can buy things that we don't even have money for, but simply put it on a credit card. And my generation wasn't like that. If you didn't have the cash, you didn't buy it. It just boggles my mind that not only do people want the instant gratification, about the delayed gratification, they want to do things that they aren't quite educated on enough or even qualified for. And a lot of times they don't even know that they really, really, really want to do it. You know, like for instance, myself, my other career option when I was younger, I wanted to be a pilot. But then I really tried being a pilot and realized it's a lot of math and science and boring, and it's not nearly as fun as I thought it would be. There's a lot of things that, like with tattooing, once you get into it, you realize that there's like the human psychology aspect, the medical aspect, the biological, the craftsmanship. There's so much more to it other than just drawing cool pictures on people.
Right. It's a responsibility. And especially like I remember when we were talking, you know, at least for myself, even in times that I've gotten tattooed, there was always a transitional moment in my life. So whether it was I felt like I was growing into this new stepping stone in my life, and I'm like, I'm changing, or I was going through a really detrimental time in my life and I just needed, they call it ink therapy.
Sure.
You know, so I'm sure that you have experiences where people are coming in, you know, they're really opening up to you. It's that level of trust and commitment. This is something that's permanent. So when you're coming in, you're getting a tattoo, like people are putting their trust into you in such a deep way. And you're also, you know, giving them your trust also. It's that relationship that you build. So it is a huge responsibility. Oh. It's not just something that's like, yeah, let me just put this on your skin. It's like, okay, like how can I support you? And like you said, I mean, even when I've gotten tattoos, you know, not just from Demetrio, but, you know, from other people, I end up talking and I'm just venting and I'm just, you know, this is what's going on with me. I just lost somebody. So it definitely is a process. I kind of wanted to talk to you more about like the apprenticeship. So how was that experience for you? How long of an experience was that? Like, how long did it take for you to get your tattoo license after being an apprentice?
Okay. Well, it only took about 4 years, just like pretty much most colleges. But then I tell people, to be honest, I sucked for about 10 years. I didn't quite understand the needle depth, the control, the precision, how tattoos age, because we do a lot of small tattoos. And then 10 years later, you realize that you put 10 pounds of crap into a 1 pound bag and it doesn't look good. So after about 10 years, you know, you got kind of good, especially I would do a lot of tattoo contests. And honestly, I lost a lot of them at first. At first, I was arrogant because all my customers and friends thought I was the greatest shit ever. And really, I was a piece of shit compared to the best. But then I'm lucky that the best weren't scared of me in competition. They mentored me even further than my original mentor, because I would ask, hey, can I sit next to you and watch you? And just like you even were teaching me stuff about Canva, they would show me stuff about tattooing from like literally the best and the best of the tattoo industry but I'd have to spend literally all my money, and I was pretty much living out of my car, traveling around the country, going to all these conventions, and then sometimes I was blessed enough to even go to these people's tattoo shops and work with them. But I didn't make any money. They actually charged me for that, but it was I'm paying my dues so I could become my future self, you know.
That's amazing. Absolutely. And I love that because one of the things that I tell people, for myself, I had all these dreams. Like, I want to be a famous singer. I want to do this. I want to do that. I tried so many different jobs. I was in the restaurant industry for 17 years, which I loved doing. I found myself getting really burnt out. But one thing I love, because you said, I wanted to be a pilot, and then I thought about doing this. I went to school for business, which is great, especially now that you have your business. I'm sure there's certain aspects of school that you were able to take into having this career for yourself. But when we follow our passion is when we follow purpose.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And that can be like a really hard thing to see, because I think we live in such a society that, we are kind of conditioned that go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, work a 9-to-5 job, and you're going to be happy. But then so many times people lose themselves in that process. And then, because we all are born with dreams, right? But the fact that you've stayed consistent, and just by staying consistent with your art, now you own a tattoo shop. And like you said, going through that process, being patient with yourself, understanding, the growth within tattooing, and that it's not an overnight thing.
Sure.
It's not like that's with anything. Even the podcast I started. When I first started it, I was recording. I wasn't videotaping. I was super nervous. And so now, like we were talking before we recorded, now I'm learning new apps that I can use. It's constantly growing. So have you seen the transition, even within your tattooing? Is your, I guess, creative continuing to change? Are you continuing to challenge yourself on different things? How is that for you?
Well, limited thing with tattooing or most commercial arts is the client is the boss. They tell me what to tattoo. If they want words, I tattoo words. So it's not like I can tell them, hey, look, I'm going to create whatever the heck I feel like doing, like I do with paper or paintbrush, where I'm working really from imagination and creativity with no references. And that's really how I think a lot of true artists express themselves. And similar with the music industry, too. You say you're into music, so am I. And when I freestyle my own crazy, weird music versus taking a request from someone in the audience, when I go up on stage to perform, and oh man, I don't know if I even like that song, let alone do I know it. But that's what the customer wants. So same with tattooing, and you have to become pretty diversified in the tattoo industry to be able to do all the different styles of tattoos that someone wants. Like before I got into really tattooing, I could never even draw a flower, let alone tattoo one. And I was big into animation type of skateboard type of art, new school. And then I had to learn all the other styles or starve.
What do you think was the most challenging experience throughout your history of tattooing? Do you think it was constantly having to push yourself to that next level?
It's not even the art, because the art is something that I've spent thousands and thousands of hours working on developing that. And I still kind of struggle a little bit, honestly, with the human interaction. And I've read books on it, how to win friends and influence people by Napoleon Hill. And the psychological aspects, and then also the time management, when I'm not busy focusing on tattooing and I do all kinds of other things in my life, it's kind of hard to time management and prioritize the best. So there's a whole bunch of other aspects of tattoo, or most industries, I'm assuming, that you have to either delegate to. That's another big one, is I've been working on hiring other people to outsource the things that I don't want to have the time to focus my attention on, and or the expertise,
So kind of just creating a team, really, and
yeah.
different things that you can use in order to, because time is the most valuable thing.
Absolutely. And especially once you start making more money than you have time, then you start, especially when you want to have a little bit of a personal life with your family or hobbies, and then you're like, oh man, should I literally spend 18 hours a day doing all these mundane tasks that I could just outsource? How much is my time worth at that point? And so I start valuing, I can pay other people to buy back my time.
Right. Yeah. So it's learning how to basically work smarter. Yeah. Yeah. I always tell them, time is the one thing in life that we don't get back. And it's so important how we use lose it because it's just before you know it, like a year goes by like this. And then when you have a family or you have a job and it's just looking back, you're like, how are we already in summer? We're about to be in fall. Like it's crazy. So that's really good that you were able to look at different aspects to be able to use your time like more wisely as well. I wanted to kind of dive into like this,
Let
like,
me say something on that little,
yeah, of
little
course,
quote
absolutely.
that I say to other people,
Absolutely.
especially people who they don't disrespectfully intentionally, but they waste their time, my time. I say, stop wasting seconds. And every second that goes by is at least a penny of your money. I would rather spend that penny paying someone else to make sense, to make dollars. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. And then also on the, does it make sense? If it don't make sense, it don't make dollars in entrepreneurship. But I'm not necessarily all about the money as I am all about the passion of the art, because I want to spend my time focusing on the art to be able to do the ultimate best I can to help people. And it takes a lot of my time behind the scenes of research and development and design and redesign and redesign and then making sure that I truly understand the customer, their story, so I can give them the ultimate best without rushing it, without cheating, without using different steps that some people take that I don't think is quite ethical, because I could easily copy and paste something, but that's not a genuine piece of art. And I think morally, a lot of people cheat in life, and I'd rather outsource and help other people too than cheat.
Yeah, and I think that it's really like also a way that you value yourself and making sure that, like you said, because I'm assuming one of the psychological pieces, which we can talk a little bit more about if you'd like to, but is, you know, again, people coming in with maybe, you know, going through transitions in their life. Sometimes it can be trauma. Like I work in recovery, so trauma is one thing that we deal with, right? And so that can be a release for them too. Mm-hmm. They're coming to you almost like a therapist.
Of course.
You know, and if it's a client you might have had for a long time, they might feel even more comfortable speaking to you mm-hmm. than they would a therapist. So I think, you know, what I'm hearing from you say is you're basically trying to also make sure you're valuing yourself, giving your client the best experience possible while being mindful of their time and yours.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing because it takes, and I'm sure it's trial and error. Because you've said this shop, so how did it end up working with you? You know, becoming this entrepreneur and opening up your own tattoo shop? Like, what was that process for you?
When I was in my 20s, like I said, I did a lot of working for other people. Pretty much I'd make it negative, but I was learning a lot and growing my skill set. From that, I won awards at conventions. I was in magazines. I was on TV and all kinds of other things that got me kind of well off, I guess. Not financially, but in my career. And then I worked in a really, really busy shop down in South Carolina. I was able to stack a lot of money. And I did a lot of tattoos, my craftsmanship up a lot too. But also I dealt with people that were different because there was so many tourism down there. Anyway, at the end of the summer, we all got pretty much laid off, and I came back up here to New Hampshire and I opened my own shop. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did know what I was doing, but not in the business aspect. You know, there's difference from, you know, depending on like your career, if you're a plumber, electrician, whatever, you might be the best at it, but you might not know the business, and you have to learn that. So luckily, when I was in South Carolina, I asked my my boss a bunch of entrepreneurship questions, and then he got the hint, like, wait a minute, you're trying to open up your own shop? I'm like, yeah, but in New Hampshire, don't worry, I'm not going to be your competition. I promise, I'm leaving the state.
So you were just picking his brain.
Right. Yeah, and then I went to other tattoo shop owners and asked them about that. And then when I opened my first couple shops, this is my third shop now. Oh, thank you. Well, a big problem I had was my employees, and then I did a partnership with another gentleman I'm not even going to talk about, try to be respectful. And the best way I can say is we had creative differences. Things we didn't agree with the way that each other was running business, so we were just like, all right, fine. I let him keep that location, and I just relocated, and I hired some other employees, and they didn't work out well, and so a lot of it comes down to the teamwork too. You know, the teamwork makes the dream work, or a nightmare.
Right. Yeah, it definitely does. Well, because you want to have pillars that everybody can lean on each other and be able to have like that solid foundation and be able to work together in like the perfect world, right? But I think even part of the process of being an entrepreneur is trial and error. And when you're going through it, like you're walking into something, like you said, you have experience, but this is also a new experience, which is a beautiful experience. It's all learning. Like everything that we do in life is learning. And one of the things that I've learned, you know, because people get so caught up in, like you were talking, like chasing the money, chasing the money, chasing the money, chasing the money. Someone said to me, if you chase the money, you're always going to be disappointed. But if you follow your passion, the money's going to come naturally.
For sure. Yeah, the money is just a byproduct of the reward of doing the best. You gotta have that passion, like I was saying. In my 20s, money was the least thing that I even cared. As long as I had enough money to eat, and sometimes honestly, I had to go to the back of restaurants and ask for leftover food for free. But it is what it is, and then eventually the money comes.
Well, every experience we go through, like, is a lesson too. So even when, you know, there were times in my life that I struggled, like I knew that the universe, now where I'm at in my life, was literally preparing me to be grateful to handle the blessings that I have in my life today.
For sure.
And I didn't see that when I was going through it. Like I was struggling and I'm like, oh my gosh, like when is this going to end? Yeah. And so now looking back, I'm like, no, it was literally preparing me to be able to handle what I have in my life today. You know, it's not easy. Life is not a journey. It's not something that success happens overnight, but I think if you have that like freedom within yourself, mm-hmm. and you continue to have that drive and continue to push yourself, like, mm-hmm. you can do anything that you put your mind to, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. One little catch-22 on that. Some people trying to pursue something, like say a musician, right? And a lot of artists, there's this term, the starving artist. I'm sure you've heard of that. They're following their passion. And realistically they're not either A, not taking it serious like a career, or B, they don't have the right mentorship, or C, they're in the wrong city and environment. That's why I had to travel, because I started my apprenticeship up in Maine, and what's the opportunity up there versus I went to LA, I went to Miami, I went to all these major cities. New York was a great one. But then also at the time when I was young, I had to go get a construction job, just part-time every now and then, to make enough money so I didn't starve to death. So I mean, when you're pursuing your goals, your passions, maybe you got to do a regular job just to put a roof over your family's head, and that way you can side hustle your real passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's okay. And that's
yeah.
I think it's, like I said, part of the process,
yeah.
and having that acceptance, and, you being able to travel is amazing too. You said New York was a great experience. Were
yeah.
these places that you were going to network with people and kind of like work with different shops, or what were those experiences like?
Yeah, the whole purpose now in my career, when I do these things, I'm trying to win awards and, make a name for myself and get money, obviously. But back then, it was solely about networking and learning, because I knew once I got humbled from losing a couple contests and I realized that there was a lot of better artists than me, I'm like, okay, well, how do I get good? So that was my whole goal. And I was taking it like how a doctor or a lawyer puts in 12 years of education, and then their internship and, all the stuff that they have to do where they're pretty much working for free. So that was the level I was at, trying to grow my wealth in my brain, because what you learn is more than what you earn. Because you can take your knowledge to the grave, but your money can be spent.
That's so wise. I love that. Yeah, that's a cool way to say
it. And you learn things mostly from experiences.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can read books, listen to podcasts, and all this other stuff, which is great.
Right.
It's way better for people to do that, I say, than watching Netflix and chill or listen to stupid music.
Because it's productive in your learning.
Yeah. But then by networking like this, like what you showed me in 5 minutes about Canva, I think I learned more than watching tutorials on YouTube, because I didn't have that human interaction.
Right.
But I think I would learn even more if I did it, especially with you telling me, no, you're doing that wrong, do it like this. Okay, let me copy exactly what you're doing,
you're like
at the second. Right. Yeah, for sure. And same with sports, or like learning how to ride a motorcycle or anything that's like physical and mental.
Well, there's only so much you can learn from a video.
Right.
I mean, you can. Like, I'm pretty sure you can learn how to build a car on YouTube now. It knows everything. You probably order the parts from Amazon.
Sure.
I mean, everything is accessible. But when you have that human connection, that's why, like, I love networking. And I'm so grateful to be sitting here with you. Like, I'm so grateful for this journey. Like, I'm grateful for your journey. It's amazing. And that's why I said like congratulations on all your success, because networking will get you farther than anything else in life.
Well, they say your network is your net worth.
100%. Yeah. And so many people, and like you were saying, and all these different things, they're amazing. Your experience is going to be able to teach you the most because everybody has their own perspective. So like you and I could be looking at the same painting and you could see something and you could be like, oh my gosh, look at the detail. Look at this. Like it reminds me of this childhood memory. And let's say I'm not as in depth. I could just look at it and be like, wow, what really pretty colors, So everybody, whenever they're going through experiences, that's why I try to, when I speak to people, I don't say, I understand what you're going through. I'll always say I identify with what you're going through, because I feel like, let's say like we both had a childhood that was very similar. Maybe we went through some trauma. I identify with you, but I don't have the same perspective of you because I'm a different person. So yeah, networking is your net worth. You can learn from people. And one of the things that I also love that you said was basically that there's space for everybody. So I think a lot of times in entrepreneurship, even in networking, even with what I do with the podcast and like working towards opening up a clothing brand, all these things, I've reached out to people for advice and sometimes they don't respond. I will only reach out 3 times because I value myself. And so I notice a lot of times when people are evolving or they're growing, it can be looked at as competition. I think it's important as humans for us to stick together and for us to start reminding ourselves that we can learn from everybody. Even if we have the same craft, you could teach somebody something that they didn't know. You could learn something. It's always important to remain open and willing and just remind yourself that there's room for everybody to grow. We all have like so many different creative sides.
The more you know, the more you grow.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you grow. Knowledge is power. That's why they say that, but it's how you're going to use that knowledge. And I always use this reference, but I could be sitting here talking to you, Jacob, and saying, I know how to build a rocket ship. And you're like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And you're like, have you done it? And I'm like, no. But knowledge
they say librarians aren't millionaires or rocket science because it comes with the application of the knowledge. But they also say, like you're saying, readers are leaders. But then again, it comes down to you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's one of those things that you just got to like apply it and take that leap. And that's why like I called my podcast Faith Over Fear, which I want to talk about your podcast.
Well, yeah, I definitely want to know a lot more about yours. So mine's called Chatting and Tatting. But another thing I wanted to kind of bring up is back to the kind of, I guess we're inspiring other people. A talented person versus an entrepreneur, and then even an entrepreneur who say they have like a restaurant or something, which might not be a talent or a passion for them. But there's different types of people. So I've been learning all this different stuff, from the hairdressers to nail salons to psychologists to karate studios to motorcycle shops, all these different things, how they all relate to my business and how I can help them and how they can help me in networking. And so I've gotten into what's called network marketing and connections and community building and stuff like that. But a big thing I've been into lately, just growing the network, is utilizing tools and outsourcing and other management things, mostly so I can help my own business at first. But I'm really trying to be able to become an expert at this so I can help other people, whether that's HVAC or house cleaning business or whatever. And I'm going to be able to, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to stay passionate with tattooing, but I'm outsourcing a team of people to help with all of this, to the point where my team is probably only have to work for me maybe like 5 hours a week. But then I want to be able to take on other small businesses, hopefully in New Hampshire, that could use these to help grow their business too.
Right. And we kind of all go back to time management.
Yeah, time management is a big one. But then also helping each other.
Yeah,
like a whole teamwork, like a community type of thing.
For sure.
So I think that's a big one,
Yeah, and that's amazing that you have like that outlook to be able to want to help the community, because like I said, I think that there's so many things people can learn from you. There's things that, you might get connected with these other community businesses or entrepreneurs, and you'll be able to learn from them. And then it just is really looking out for each other in such a different way. And that's where the real growth comes. Because like not only are you going to get burnt out.
You waste your time.
Yeah,
you waste your sense.
Right. You're wasting your sense and you're going to be exhausted. You're going to get burnt out. may not have that drive anymore because you're getting burnt out. And so when you can build a team or you can network and pick somebody's brain, like even how you were doing in South Carolina, like that in itself was networking in a different way, even though it's someone you were working for, you're trying to learn knowledge. So that way you can expand as an entrepreneur and a businessman and you can just learn so much from somebody. And when you work together, before you know it, like life gets a little bit easier.
For sure.
The load you have on you doesn't feel, and that can even go like farther than even entrepreneurship and businesses. That can be in our personal relationships. That can be in our family dynamic. I feel like we can get ourselves into like resentment and find ourselves in these situations where we're building up resentment because maybe we're feeling like, communication and all these things aren't happening in our personal lives. But like when we allow ourselves to be open and we ask for help, you're going to notice a huge shift, like in everything in your life. Asking for help can be really, really challenging and really uncomfortable, but it's not only shows strength within yourself because vulnerability is a strength, but it also shows like, I don't know, just a willingness to be able to take your power of your knowledge and just share that and grow. Like it's amazing. And so now you have a tattoo shop, you offer piercings, you have a clothing brand, right? Yeah, you have a clothing brand, which is amazing. You are now trying to team build and create community, and you have a podcast. It's amazing. It's amazing. So what are you hoping, like, obviously community building, but what are some other things that you're hoping to build in the future for yourself?
Okay. Well, one thing, like you're saying, I didn't want to interrupt you, but with like a relationship, a husband and wife, or, if you're homosexual, that's cool too. But you kind of need a partnership. Two heads are better than one.
For sure.
But you got to be careful because if they're the wrong, it could be poison.
Yeah.
You could be in a toxic relationship. But if you're doing good together, then you grow twice as fast. Or one person's trying to grow and another person is bringing you down, then you're the same and or even worse. And so you got to be careful of that. And same with even business partnerships and or employees, outsourcing, teamworks, and all that type of stuff. So on that, I think it's really good to vet the people that you're getting in bed with, not literally, you know what I mean? Same with joint venture partnerships to anything, even your children, your parents, all these people in your life that aren't necessarily your choice, but then it is your choice on how you interact with them.
Right.
But you did ask another question too about the podcast, and I kind of went backtracking talking about networking and helping other entrepreneurs, because the reason why I got into thinking about helping other entrepreneurs, because I tattoo a lot of entrepreneurs. I'd say like half of my audience is people who either they got a side hustle, small business, or they got a full-fledged business, and or they're professional athletes or musicians or actors or something where they got like a little bit of a talent and they're trying to scale it and get more of that. So that's where I have these conversations with my clients all the time. And if you ever want me to shut up, just tell me, hey, Jake, you talk too much to shut up. But otherwise, I'll flap your ears off.
It's a gift. I always say, like my mom used to say to me, if the gift is a gap, it's a gift. To be able to speak to people and connect, it's a gift.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I'm an introvert and I'm pretty shy, but the more I learn that I want to be able to help other people, and in the same time, I'm being a little bit selfish and what can I get from you? And we're growing together. And so on my podcast, like you're asking about, I call it chatting and tatting, because as I'm tatting you, we're chatting, and I'm learning a lot about my customer. I ask, like how you're asking me all these questions. It's kind of unique. I ask a lot of questions because I genuinely care, just like I'm sure you genuinely care. And as I'm talking, I'm like, why are you getting this? Oh, what are you into? Wow, that's your career. Oh, tell me about your family. What's your goals in life? How do you see yourself getting there? And then some people say, oh, like, I used to be a drug addict and I quit. I'm like, oh, great, good for you, and overcoming bad relationships, bad locations, to whatever it is. We've all had some trauma in our past, and we all want something good. No one ever says to themselves, no, I'm really planning on being a homeless drug addict. And like, no, I want to go to prison. No one says that. But if you ever find yourself in those predicaments, then people, well, you should have thought about that, shouldn't you? You shouldn't have been hanging out with those people.
I think it's so easy to judge people until you've been through it. Like I always say, and not for nothing, like, I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic. I found myself, I'll share something personal. I found myself homeless and I was addicted. And I didn't think that that was going to be my life. I never thought that that was something I was going to go through. And so now that I'm on the other side of it, like I always say to people that it's so easy to judge until you have somebody that you love that's affected by it or you're going through it yourself. And sometimes it could be a divorce that triggers it. Sometimes I know people who have gotten a surgery and they were prescribed painkillers and next thing you know they become addicted. I know people who lost their jobs and nowadays with inflation and everything that's going up in the economy and the prices of rent, like, they say that what do they say? Like most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. So, it's really easy, I think, to be biased and put a stigma on a lot of things, not just including addiction in society, but it's really important to be mindful because people don't wake up and no one ever is going to say, I'm going to get arrested today. I mean, maybe.
If you're living a criminal life, but most people
maybe.
aren't really.
Right, but that's not a lot of people's goals. So I love that you touched on that. I think it's just one of those things I go back to, just like, go into situations with love and kindness. You never know what somebody's going through. You never know, where somebody is at in their life. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want
No, I'm glad. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And besides the trauma you've been through, I'm sure you've heard of other people's, and I hear of a lot of people's houses burning down, their kids, their parents, their spouse dying, motorcycle car crashes, crazy thing, like even just something as like your house flooded or a roof collapsed or something like that no one wants to happen. Your pet's dying, whatever, or something like even way more horrible than those things. People don't plan for, and identity to life is there's going to be a crisis. So it's almost like you got to like plan for it, but you hope and pray for the best. But most people don't, I think, have that reality. Like, you know what? There might be crap hitting the fan in a week, 10 years from now. I kind of want to be a little bit ready for that, if that's, and hopefully not. And that, you take precautions to, just like most people have, in New Hampshire, we don't have to have car insurance. Some people have many other types of insurance. So I think a good insurance is education and networking. Because if you know the right person who can bail you out from whatever situation it is, that could help.
Absolutely. And also knowing people that can like challenge your brain. Like,
yeah.
Like it's amazing. I mean, we've gotten connected. I think you're an extremely smart person. The conversations that we have had, like it's incredible. I've learned from you, even like the last conversation about building podcasts. There's things you told me that I didn't know, that I wasn't aware of. Cool. Also, the time saving things that we talked about, like I didn't know those were options either. There's people I have in my phone that have been on TED Talks that I can call and say, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this speech, like what are some things you suggest? But that's all from just growing and networking, or even like you said here, you're tattooing so many different types of people. You're learning so much about them. And then what I think is great, which is so interesting to me, is that you said you're an introvert, which I would never know that. But this profession has allowed you, I guess in a sense, maybe to get comfortable being uncomfortable and push that within yourself. So you're challenging yourself every day too, and you get to experience that because, you're focused and you're tattooing, right? But you're also pushing yourself to ask different questions, to get to know people being an introvert. So that's amazing that you have that growth and awareness within yourself as well.
One little tip of advice, this is what I did. And the reason why I was an introvert is I spent so much time with my head down drawing, sitting in my room all alone, like just listening to music. And I'm not really learning anything from music. But now I purposely force myself to try to interact with people. And yeah, sometimes it's awkward and uncomfortable. And I think to myself, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to make fun of me. I'm not going to get beat up. I'm not going to go to jail. I'm not hurting anybody. It's not like falling down skateboarding hurts worse than talking to someone. Why am I so scared? But a big one is if you have an empty cup, it's hard for you to spill out. But if you have a full cup, then you can overflow. In other words, the knowledge and wisdom that you learn from reading other podcasts, listening to smart people. And nowadays I love how YouTube is, so we can absorb so much. And be careful what you scroll on your social medias. If you're looking at nonsense, that's what you're going to fill yourself up with. If you're looking at toxic or poison or negative or drama, that's what you're putting in you. Just like food, you are what you eat. Well, same with you are what you listen to and consume. So I consume a lot about tattooing. And by learning that, I'm also learning interactions with people and stuff like that. There's just a lot more to tattooing than what you're saying. So even for yourself, if you ever feel like what do I talk about? Study other people. And then that will just kind of regurgitate out of you naturally. I've read the full Bible 3 times, and that's a great literature, whether you believe in it or not. It's so many things that we can learn from dead people. But before they died, they put their whole, not every dead person, just the ones who've written books, put their whole life's knowledge into a book that you can read in a day. And that's like insane that you can get, 60 years of wisdom in one day of just reading.
Yeah, everything. I mean, everything's accessible, but like you said, I think it's important to be mindful as to what it is that you're looking into, because you are what you become. And you were talking about like the 3 second like attention span basically, and how like everything's trending nowadays. Like this is trending, and the next week we're the consumer.
The scrolling society.
Right. Well, we're consumers, so we are the products. So all the products that are being sold. I actually watch a documentary. I like a lot of documentaries. If I'm going to watch Netflix, I wish I had more time to watch TV. But when I do, I like educating myself, so I watch documentary. There was a documentary on Netflix that was called Buy Now, and it just talked about the overconsumption within humanity and how people constantly feel like they need to constantly buy, right? And so when you're talking about the scrolling and having that mindlessness, I think there's times and places. I try to be really disciplined within social media. Obviously, having the podcast, even with what you're doing, a lot of marketing techniques are through social media because it can reach like a different mass in such a different way. But yeah, you are engaged. You do become a product of your environment. So, what we watch, what we listen to, how we speak, what we like, the types of people that we surround ourselves with, and the type of knowledge that we're allowing ourselves to, what it is, like you said, read the Bible. There's books that someone, like you said, wrote their existence of everything that they've gone through, and you can read that in a day, you can read that in 2 days, and next thing you know this whole person's life, and you're like, wow, it's really amazing. I think one of the things that we're here for as people, because people talk about purpose, like why people can go through hard times, even myself in the past, like what is my purpose, what am I here for? I feel like we're here to like work together and to create. I think we all have gifts. Like you are a creator, you're helping people. This platform, that even your podcast, my podcast, is a creation. Some people have gifts of being a good listener. Some people have gifts of being able to speak to somebody. Some people may pay it forward, and that could be just holding the door open, smiling at somebody, small acts of kindness. Like we all have something that we can give into humanity. We don't have to pour in these huge things. It's not always about the money. It's not.
I love what you're saying, Carissa. Another thing too, on that, you have something special in you. So many people say, oh, Jacob, you're so talented. I wish I could do that. Well, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a great parent, great with animals, great with plants. I find a lot of women are better with that loving, nurturing, homemaking type of stuff. And this is stereotypical, and forgive me, I'm not trying to be sexist or biased. Men are a little bit better at building and, the masculine type of jobs. Who cares about gender? Whatever you do, whether it's a career or a passion or a hobby, whether that's sports or something, we all got something we're good at. And I'm only good at a few things. I suck at football and many other things, but someone else is like really good at football or really good at what your specialties are. We all got our gifts and specialties. And that's what I tell people, like, don't be bummed out that you can't draw. Like, heck, I can't sing, I learned.
Yeah, try not to like compare yourself to other people too. Like I feel like, again, going back to societal standards where everything is on social media, you see this way that men are supposed to look and act, and
you see the highlight reels.
The highlight reels are how like women are supposed to look in today's society, right? Like all the plastic, right? Edited, yeah, or
AI,
filtered. Fake. Great, artificial intelligence. But like one thing that I always tell people, and this is like a huge thing that I network with and share also, is like being your authentic self is your superpower. So who you are is the greatest blessing that you can give the world. And like a fun fact, random, I've talked about this on other episodes I've had, but with all the billions and billions of people that have been born in this world, not one person's fingerprint is the same. So when you look at that, that just shows you how special you are as a person. And so, I know fear of judgment. I know fear of rejection. I know that we all really want to feel like we belong. Everybody just wants to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want to feel understood. And they can have that pressure, especially in society, right? Sure. And so the most beautiful thing about being your authentic self is when you branch out and you really start speaking your truth as to who you are. your tribe is going to find you.
Your vibe is your tribe.
Yes, your vibe is your tribe. So, if there's people and you're like, you have to feel like you have to put a front on to protect your peace or protect your spirit. And when you come around them, you're like, oh, I just can't be myself. Like, I know it can be difficult if it's family or friends. Love people from a distance, have boundaries. Yeah. And then the more that you branch out into who you are, you'll find your people.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to be redundant, but you're 100% right. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's okay to be a little weird. It's okay to be, what's normal anyway? Who wants to be normal? What is normal? When no one's the same. It's, what is normal?
I think a lot of people, especially when you're talking about like physical aesthetics, so fashion to hair to jewelry, definitely tattoos. When I was younger, these people would call me a freak, a weirdo. It's like people are scared of judgment.
For sure.
And yet when you point at someone, you got 3 fingers pointing back. So be careful how you judge someone. There's a song that goes something like a homeless person saying, I once was like you. And then there's this wealthy person ridiculing him. And then next week, that wealthy person loses everything and becomes homeless. Be grateful for what we have. If you only have one shoe, then you see someone who has only 1 foot. So and so many people, back to the judging thing or being freaking weird. You're a freak, you're a weirdo, and you're creative. So that's good. When someone says these things, don't be thinking like, oh no. Be like, yeah, thank you. That's great. Because I don't want to be a clone doing nothing of my own.
For sure.
And
when you own it, and
wear your freak flag, like a proud.
Yeah, when you're just like, if someone says something to you that could be degrading or hurtful, or they're trying, like, first of all, that's a reflection of who they are.
Of course.
As a person. That has 100%. Nothing to do with you. I promise.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Right. And just own it, because when you own it and you're like, hey, like, I know who I am as a person, I'm comfortable with me, no one can take that power. It's when you start feeling guilty for who you are and start feeding into that. Like, not only are you losing yourself, but you're giving somebody else power. Like,
that's what they want.
Right. Yeah. And by leading, and also another thing about being your authentic self is you're inspiring people that you may not even know. And I know a lot of us, like, people want validation, right? Like, we want people like, oh my gosh, you're great, you're an inspiration, we love you. Like, everybody, again, wants to feel seen and heard. But I promise you, even if you're not having that validation, people are watching. So if you are being who you're meant to be, you are inspiring people that may not even be giving you that validation. I promise.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
And whenever someone does these types of things to hurt you, they're subconsciously doing it not because they hate you. They're trying to put you down to put themselves up.
Envy is a sign of admiration.
Yeah.
Hate is the epitome of destruction.
Yeah. I got a lot of haters, and at first it kind of like bothered me, and then now I honestly tell them thank you, and I hope you have a better day because something bad is going for you, and I wish all the best for you with all the blessings. And any of my competition to anyone else, it's jealousy. Now, the people who I've found back when I was early in my career, if I asked someone about tattooing who isn't at an excellent level, they would usually be the meanest. But for the people that are excellent, they aren't jealous of me. What do they have to worry about? They'll be open book and tell me everything. So, yeah, the people that aren't doing that well are your biggest haters.
Right, absolutely.
The people that we look up to, they're going to actually be nice to us.
Maybe people are like struggling internally with something too, I'm not saying that it excuses like unfit behavior or hurtful, jabs at somebody, but like people can be struggling with something and it can come out. Like, I mean, even people that you meet that are just, seem very unhappy, very miserable, very judgmental. Like, I always try to think, even like, because I used to have road rage as a character defect. I've gotten better. I've gotten a lot better. I'm super happy about that. Right. Like, I was doing positive affirmations when I'm driving yesterday. People probably thought I was in that case, but it helps me and I felt better.
That's good.
Yeah, I was like, I had my windows rolled down. I am in the present moment. People are just like this. But, some people, like, I try to, even when people are speeding, like, and they go around me, like, maybe they found out their wife's in labor, or maybe someone that they have that's close to them is sick in the hospital. Maybe, I don't know what people are going through. And I think a lot of things I used to, like, struggle with was try to make sense of, like, this person did this. What if I would have like reacted this way? What if I would have said this differently? But like, I can only control what I can control. I can only control how I show up to situations. I can't control what this person thinks of me. I can't control what this person said. If I sit in that, which I have before, I go crazy.
Yeah, For sure.
And
We
talk
get in
about
our
time.
own head.
Talk about time wasted.
Oh
You'll
my
be
goodness.
disassociating all day, trying to make sense of
You
like
can't
situations.
get that time back.
No, and you can't get the time back. And you've wasted your entire day disassociating.
What's your time worth? That's like you wasted that much money.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what you were saying. Like, time is precious, and even like
You could have spent that time with your family, or
Right.
creating, or doing anything productive.
Right.
I'm not giving you crap because I'm so guilty of this.
Right.
I get mad at myself. Why did I even let someone rent space in my head for
sure.
free, messing up my psychology and getting me all angry?
Right.
You gotta control that. What productivity does getting aggressive or negative or hostile or even worse, violent? How's the positivity from that?
Yeah.
And we should love and help and understand, be compassionate, creative, productive. Because the more, like, we got a little problem, like, let's just say you have a messy house. And you just sit there, my house is so messy, it's someone else's fault. I'm going to bitch and complain. I got all these excuses. Just pick it up.
Yeah.
Just could have spent that same time complaining and fix the solution.
Right.
And then now, hey, I got a clean house.
It's just standing in your path, right?
Little things like that.
Everything takes time and
Sure.
it takes practice, and that's why even like when we were talking about your story and what it was like, getting your tattoo shop and learning about tattoos, like even with that, you said it took 10 years, like you were practicing and you weren't where you wanted to be, but you kept pushing yourself. Mm-hmm. Your apprenticeship took 4 years. You ended up traveling all over the United States, learning from other artists, networking with other artists. And now this is your third location. You have a shop. So that in itself was not something that happened overnight. So human behavior and unlearning behaviors that we know isn't something that happens overnight. Like, it's continuous growth. Life is very short. So, I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in like this forever type of mentality, because this is our reality and we wake up every day to it. But
older, every day we get older, or the worst, we're in the coffin.
Right. Well, I hope that, yeah.
Well, that's a reality.
Right,
we never know when
right,
our time's up. We could get hit by a Mack truck on the way home.
Right. Yeah. It just teaches you, to be able to see gratitude in a different way, see life in a different way. Like, even if you're not, where you want to be. And I have a lot of growing I have to do within myself too. There's a lot of goals I have for myself that I have not accomplished yet. There's a lot of character defects that I'm still working on. Like, I'm human, right? And so, I know these things take time, but a reminder too, even for like yourself and all of us, is like, don't look at how far you have to go, look at how far you've come. Because where you are today, you have plans to be with the community, you have a shop, you're helping people. That's huge. And this all stemmed from this passion you had of art,
Sure. I appreciate you saying that, Chris, a lot. And another thing on that too, they say that people that complain about the situation that we're in, it's kind of our own choice, even though we all have excuses and we want to blame situations and other people or whatever. Most people don't want to take self-accountability, myself included. But you think back 5, 10 years ago, what have you done for the last 10 years? That's what put you here.
For sure.
And one thing, I'm grateful I woke up today. I literally woke up thinking, Jesus, I'm not in the coffin, I'm not in prison, I'm not in the hospital, and I have enough water to poop in. No one's shooting at me. I don't have hepatitis. Like, we're doing pretty darn good,
Right.
And not to mention all the other things that I am doing better than I was 10 years ago. Let alone some people, I'm doing better than them. I'm not trying to say that I'm better than other people, but the only reason why I'm at that level is because of all the hard work, sacrifice, and struggle, and not wasting time drinking or doing drugs or wasting money even doing a Dunkin' Donuts or these other stupid things that even I've done before in the past. And I've made sacrifices to make better choices with my time, money, talent, productivity, and networking. But then also, if you stay on this track, you think to yourself, where do you want to be in 5, 10 years from now? Okay, now you reverse engineer. How do other people have been at that level? What did they do? How can I study their success? Because success leaves clues. And anytime I see people online that are doing great, I ask them, how'd you learn that? What advice do you have for me to get to that level? Also, what sacrifices and struggles did it take? How long did it take you? How many hours a week? It's not a instant gratification thing. Thousands of hours, 10,000 hours, they say, to be good at something. And so you got to reverse engineer and be like, all right, the next 5 days, I'm going to do these things. Next 5 weeks, next 5 months, next 5 years. And then in 10 years from now, I should be doing pretty darn good with myself. God willing, we're still alive and we're not what free or whatever the heck happens.
Right. Yeah, just being like present in the day and just doing what you can today, but also like remaining helpful for yourself, I think is important, and giving yourself grace and patience and just being kind to yourself.
Dedication.
And dedication and consistency. Because I mean, there's things that in my life I felt like I wanted that instant gratification. Again, that's where it comes from, the, what did you call it, swiping society?
Yeah.
It's the instant gratification. Like, you know, even with you see marketing, lose weight today, in a week you can, you know, boom. It takes diet, exercise.
Yeah,
like,
at least 3 months to lose.
But there's so many different marketing techniques. Or do this instantly, have this instantly, whiten your teeth. It's just so many
bunch
things
of baloney. Don't believe it.
That are just instant for marketing as sell points.
Yeah.
It's all marketing. We could
get a sleeve tattoo in one day.
We could go down the rabbit hole with this conversation, honestly, to keep it more leveled off. Like, yes, it takes time. And again, when you follow your passion, you find your purpose. So for me, it was like, you know, this podcast wasn't something that I wanted to do since I was younger. Like I told you, just had gone through experiences, you know, and when I got on the other side of it, I started motivational speeches on like Snapchat and Facebook. And I had people that reached out to me and they just said, hey, you have a way of speaking. Like, I'm really resonating with you and I'm really inspired by what it is that you're doing. And so I had a friend who I was talking to and basically was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. It was literally a random idea. And they were like, do it. And I didn't know what it was going to be called. I had no idea. And so I ended up calling it Faith Over Fear. And I went to Burlington the same day I came up with the name, and I was shopping and they had a candle that was like turned backwards and it had a big red sticker on it. And I pick it up and it said Faith Over Fear. That was the name. So I knew confirmation that this is what I'm supposed to do. Long story short, when I started this, I was super nervous. I originally was just talking, then I started interviewing people. Now fast forward 2 years later, I'm now sitting with like people as yourself that are amazing. I've been able to reach, you know, people across the United States. I didn't go into this to make money. I'm not making money from it. I went into this because I just wanted to give people a voice to know that they weren't alone and to help other people. And so there's times that I've interviewed people. I had the worst headache of my life. I was so dehydrated. I had the worst headache of my life. As soon as I came on interviewing them, I didn't think about my headache one time. So I knew that this meant something to me and that this was something my soul thrived on. You know, all those experiences of having hardships in life led me to be able to have the space for others to help them. And I understand why those nights of like pain or days that I wanted to give up, or, you know, depression, anxiety, PTSD, all those things that I had gone through, like, led me to my purpose, which is simply to help other people. So it's simple.
That's great.
It's not always complex, but that's like what you're doing too. You're helping people too. And so it's a really beautiful journey. I just, like, again, you know, I think me and Jacob can kind of agree just to like trust the process, you know, believe in yourself. And I mean, you've heard, you know, his story a little bit today. And for those of you that, you know, get tattooed by him, like, he's definitely an incredible person. This is not an easy journey. Life is very difficult, right? Like, you go through experiences, but you can do anything that you put your mind to. And we are coming up on time. So I do just kind of want to like to leave people with a voice of inspiration. I guess if there's one last thing that you can leave to our viewers, including your viewers, that you could share, like maybe for somebody that's going through a hard time, just to leave them with, like, what would you tell them?
I have a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
I think we're going to have to do another podcast.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
have to interview you.
Absolutely.
But what do I want to tell people is you can afford to do anything in life that you desire enough to put the hard work and dedication to. I don't mean financially afford either. Some things that you need an education, a mentor, you need to travel for, you need to get the practice, and you're going to suck and fail at first. You got to pay your bruises to get your cruises. That's a saying my dad told me with snowboarding. I've broken a lot of bones in sports, but with anything where it's music or acting or baking, cooking, raising children, anything, you have to put the dedication in. So don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself to greatness, because there's no need for you to accept ordinary. You can be extraordinary. And that's what I'm trying to be. A lot of people think I'm the best tattoo artist around, but yeah, honestly, I'm very humble. I've only won maybe a third at the most, probably more like a quarter of the contests that I've entered in doing tattoo conventions. And there's better people than me, and I learn from them instead of being all bummed out and angry and depressed that I'm a failure. It's a learning opportunity. Um, what you're not earning, and once again, not necessarily financially, you're learning. So there's um, no losses. An L isn't a loss; it's a lesson. So whether you're a drug addict or ex-criminal or whatever, you're not identified and branded as that failure. You're God's creation, and there's people in your life that love you. So whether you're depressed or going through a bad relationship or whatever, remember, it can't rain all the time, and you're going to overcome with the right support team. I want to know more about Faith Over Fear. It sounds like you help a lot with drug addicts and stuff like that. So with those type of people, I know they're going through a dark time in their life, and they just need to be around the right people, change people, places, and things. I know you know more about that than I do, and there is hope for all those people. And having faith is super important. And the fear, in my opinion, and you know more about Faith Over Fear, but my opinion with fear of tattoos, so many people are scared of ridicule of society versus pain versus, not liking what they want or whatever, and many other things in life, from overcoming addictions to jobs, relationships. You got to have no fear, almost like with an extreme sport. You got to be a little bit of a risk taker, or if you're investing, not just investing in crypto or stocks, but like investing in yourself. You got to take that challenge and risk, go through detox. Not necessarily just mean a drug addict or an alcoholic. You have to pay that pain, pay the bruise, the pain of getting a tattoo. They hurt getting tattoos, but it's only temporary. It's that little bit of suck. And then even the healing time sucks. But once you feel it, you heal it, and you get over it with so many things, from bad relationships to whatever. There's a learning curve. Going to the gym, you're talking about losing weight. Well, you can definitely lose weight if you want to actually go exercise 8 hours a day and fast, starve yourself. I mean, that's going to suck. Not many people want to go through that. That's horrible. But you can do it in increments and progression in time.
It's just really looking
Consistency.
At and one thing about Faith Over Fear. So fear is ingrained in our society, even when you look at like the broadcasting within the news and all these things that are on TV. Fear sells. And so for me, Faith Over Fear, right, really just means fear can be something as simple as what's holding you back. So what Faith Over Fear means to me is having that leap, whether that faith is whatever higher power you believe in, okay, within yourself, pushing yourself to that limit of challenging yourself within something you didn't think you could do. And that is like Faith Over Fear. It's taking that leap of faith to push yourself to a different, I guess, way of believing in yourself and moving past that fear. And fear could be so simple, like I said, rejection, abandonment, the unknown, right? Like not knowing, well, if I do this, if I make this move, where is this going to take me? Is it scary? Of course. Being a human, we want to be comfortable. We want to feel safe. So even for some people, they can be uncomfortable with their life, but it's uncomfortably comfortable. Once you push yourself out of that uncomfortability is when you'll see change. The only time, I don't want to say failure, the only time we'll get stagnant as human beings is when we become complacent. Once you push out of that and you take that leap of faith, however that resonates to you, is when you'll be able to start seeing things differently in your life. So it's really just one day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
Jumping out of an airplane.
Right. There's so many different avenues. So, you're needed. The world needs you, right? Like you have a purpose here.
Giving up the comforts to challenge yourself to take that leap of faith.
For sure. Right. And so, just remember, like, to be kind to yourself, to hold space for yourself. Like, you have to pour into your cup before you can pour into somebody else's cup. If your cup is overflowing and you're, pouring into other people, like, it's going to build up and you're not going to be able to hold space for yourself the way that you deserve it. You deserve to have space held. So I thank all of you for, watching today. And Jacob, thank you so much for being here with me. We could definitely do another interview.
I have so many questions for you.
Yeah. I've never been interviewed before, so it would be an honor for me to be on the other side of it, kind of with what you're doing. Again, this is Jacob. He is the owner of New Hampshire Custom Tattoos in Hooksett. Really great guy, and thank you again, so much for being here and for giving me the opportunity to sit with you.
Thank you, Carissa. Can I just get one more question out of you real quick?
Of course.
So on closing, wrapping everything up real quick.
Of course.
Do you have any wisdom to tell my audience about, especially not necessarily you, but your whole faith over fear from everything you've learned? What else? One last little thing can you say to, man, you're so inspirational.
Thank you. I guess just kind of reiterating what I said in a way, just you're worthy. You are worth a beautiful life for yourself. You can do anything that you put your mind to. Don't allow anyone to dictate who you are as a person. Your past does not define you. We are human. We all make mistakes. We all go through things. We hurt people. People hurt us. The freedom within change comes from forgiveness, and not in a sense of you don't always have to forgive people because they deserve it, but you can learn to forgive yourself and others because you deserve peace. So this life journey is hard, but it's a beautiful journey. And I know it can be difficult to maybe get out of, I've experienced depression. I've experienced all those things. I know sometimes it's like even hard to want to get out of bed. But set small goals for yourself. When you do that, you'll be able to see things differently. You'll be able to start seeing patterns change. And then within that, over time, you'll have this new profound sense of feeling proud of yourself. So if no one's told you they believe in you, I do. I know Jacob does as well. And yeah, you deserve a beautiful life. And we're happy that you're still here. So I hope that you all have an amazing day. My podcast, my name's Carissa DeShays. My podcast is Faith Over Fear. It is available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. And for anyone who's watching, if you ever know anybody or yourself, you want to share your testimony, we all have a story that can help other people. Like, I'm always looking to book people. So I want to thank you all for your time today. And have a great day.
One last thing. If you know anyone, whether yourself or someone else that wants to be on Carissa's podcast, tag them in the comments below, and or you want to be on Chatting and Tatting podcast. We both want to be able to understand your story and see how we can both help get it out there and help other people. And on what you're saying is also, in summary, you're not a prisoner of your past.
For sure.
So don't let your past define your future. There's many people who have come from a horrible past have started something wonderful and grateful. The restaurant, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders didn't even start that until he was in retirement.
Right.
So you're not too old, but also procrastination is the devastation of accomplishment. So don't wait till it's too late. So start your thing now without hesitation, and no more analysis paralysis.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And everybody, thank you so much again for watching. And you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Comment below.